I think high-end Pinot Noir are the hardest wines to score. Real high-end Pinot Noir is so complex, it's so layered, it's always changing in the glass. You really have to pay attention to it. I think that when it comes to blind tasting or tasting in general, I've made more mistakes with Pinot Noir than any other grape variety. A lot of casual wine drinkers hear it's a complex grape, and I know when I was first a casual drinker, I didn't really understand that. And there's two factors for that. Number one, the types of wines that most people are drinking from the supermarket shelf, especially Pinot Noir, are not that good. It's really hard to make really good Pinot Noir at that price point. When you start to get to higher levels of Pinot Noir, when you start to get $25, $30, $40, $50, $100, the ones that you see on the shelf in specialty shops have been pre-filtered, especially in the US where you have the three-tier system. Wines that are imported go through importers, distributors, then retailers. At every single level, the importer, the distributor, and the retailer is filtering out specifically for their market. They're trying to put the best possible product on the shelf for the best price. Or in the case of Burgundy, I guess price really doesn't matter that much. So you're getting the creme de la creme, and trust me, when you're in the wine business, you taste a lot of bad Pinot Noirs. When it comes to big time scores, when you're talking about 95 to 100 points, those are scores mostly reserved for wines like Napa Cab, like Bordeaux. These are wines where you can blend in different grape varieties to bring out more complexity. Pinot Noir wines are almost always a single variety. The inspiration comes from Burgundy, where monks over the years meticulously mapped out plots to make the best possible expression for the grape. They're really a winemaker's fetish. Winemakers love them, try to emulate them. It's usually a project of passion, so a 95-point score for Pinot Noir is nothing to balk at. I have two wines here from the New World. I know the New World term is kind of getting thrown out, especially the Court of Master Sommeliers. Okay, that are non-European, let's put it that way. I haven't tasted either one of these wines. They've both received 95-point scores from American press, American media that are popular and tend to be a little more conservative. One got 95 plus points from Robert Parker's The Wine Advocate, while one got 95 points from Wine Spectator. In the age of score inflation, I think those two publications are still pretty conservative, along with Venice, although I have noticed their scores going up through the years. Let's taste the wine, see if I agree. Fine wines tasting out of fine glasses. These are quickly becoming my favorite wine glasses. These are the Riedel Pinot Noir Performance glasses. They have this awesome optical striation that looks cool, reflects light differently, but Riedel claims that it increases surface area and makes the wine taste better. Good for Pinot Noir, good for big white wines, good for a lot of stuff. I use them almost all the time now. I have a link in the description box below. They're not cheap, but they are awesome. This time from this side over, so it looks a bit more natural on camera. Let's start out with wine number one here. And as always, I Coravin these, had somebody mix them up for me. One is beautiful raspberry, cherry, white pepper. Really pretty. It's not over extracted. What can happen sometimes is Pinot Noir is early budding and early ripening. That means it can be susceptible to frosts in the spring. And if you don't pick it at the right time, if you pick it too early, sometimes it can be acid water. If you pick it too late, it can be flabby. This is ripe, but really pretty. Got some perfume notes. Earth, kind of like that forest brush, twig type note. That's good Pinot Noir. Mouth coating right, but it's not all fruit. There are layers. There's a perfect amount of tannin. Fine tannins. Real serious Pinot Noirs have a little more tannins, what people aren't prepared for. This is not too tannic. It's ready to go out of the gate. There's a reason why the producers in Burgundy, some of the producers in America, Oregon, Australia, New Zealand are masters at this grape variety. When you're in the wine business, you taste a lot of bad Pinot Noirs. I know I'm even in a lot of exotic countries, and there's countries that are producing good Pinot Noir, but since producers don't have all the experience of it, sometimes they can be good one vintage and completely off the next vintage. They really haven't mastered this variety. This is peppery, long. I'm still tasting it. That's pretty serious. Let's move on to wine number two. Wine two is more fruity. It's not as earthy as wine one. More raspberry, cherry. This doesn't have the earth component. This is more fruit. Maybe even like a Christmas cake type spice flavor. This was shy at first, but you have to shake it out. And that's the thing with Pinot Noir. It's always changing. That's why it's really hard to score. For me, scores are not the end-all, be-all, snapshot of moment in time. Our neurology is always changing. The wines are always changing. For me, I went back and forth on this channel for a long time whether I was going to score or not. For me, it's just my way when I'm doing these tastings of distinguishing hierarchy and quality, but they can change. In fact, I even did a video of Rieslings where I opened them, I scored them, then 5 days later I went back to them and and see how they change and score. This is really fruity. This to me, I don't have a California wine, but this really reminds me of a Sonoma fruitier style. On the palate, this was delicate on the nose, but on the palate, you get tons of concentration. Beautiful red fruit flavors. The tannins are a lot softer than in this one. This is like a crowd-pleasing favorite. Wine 1, maybe somebody could convince me it's European or French. Wine 2, I think it's just more of a good New World style, maybe California. A little darker than I'm used to in some Australian styles. But it's so delicious, it makes me want to keep drinking it. Both good wines. I've done other videos like this, like at a real popular 99-point wine versus 99-point wine video that did really well. I scored a lot lower than those critics. In this case, I think the critics are pretty spot on. These are really good wines. Let's start out with wine 2 here. I'm gonna reveal it, tell you what the score is, how it compared to my notes. This one right here was very good. More of a fruitier style, more of a crowd-pleasing style. 94 points for me. Not quite 95, 94 points. I think it's an excellent wine. This is what I thought. Let me compare notes. This got 95 points from Robert Parker's The Wine Advocate. Says, from a plot in the Adriana Vineyard in Argentina, some 1450 meters in altitude, just under 6,000 feet. Pure limestone plot, blah, 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 blah. Oh, I don't like this tasting at all. It's a cooler place that delivers moderate alcohol, 13 degrees, and a good freshness, pH of 3.42. It's very aromatic, very clean, good precision, fine thread on the palate. I guess that's true. It is very clean, very precise. This is the Domaine Nico. The La Savante Pinot Noir 2021. This comes in around $65, so it's not cheap. This is friendly. This is delicious. This is brought to you by the team from Catina Zapata. Laura and her sister makes this wine in small quantities. I think they make 4 or 5 Pinot Noirs from this plot. I think they only make about 5,000 bottles a piece. I think that's a crowd favorite, especially for the fact that the retail is $65, but sometimes I've seen it for $45, and I think that's a pretty good buy. Really, if you like that California style, it's delicious. The hot area for Argentinian Pinot Noir now is Patagonia in the south, but man, this is great Pinot Noir made in Malbec country in Mendoza. Okay, wine 1. I know what it is now. I thought it was excellent. I've tasted the producer's single vineyard Pinot Noirs. This is more of their flagship Pinot Noir. Let me read the score first. 95 points from Wine Spectator. Compelling multi-layered red with lifting raspberry and cherry flavors. Okay. Expand and reveal fresh violet, earthy mineral accents. Build tension toward refined tannins. I actually think that's a pretty good tasting note. I like the tannins here. I gave this 96 points. This is the Lingua Franca Estate Pinot Noir, Eola Amity Hills, Willamette Valley. Willamette Valley. Yes, I know. 2021, same vintage, same price, $64. Lingua Franca was a producer started by Master Sommelier Larry Stone. I know this brand has been sold to Constellation. It was in the film Psalm 3. Their single vineyard, The Plow Pinot Noir, is a wine that last year really convinced me about what Pinot Noir can reach in Oregon and the Willamette Valley. I think this is an exceptional bottle of wine, and unlike some of their single vineyard specialty bottles, you can actually find this also comes in that 13 degrees of alcohol. Way to go, Pinot Noir. So tell me, what's the most memorable, the most highly scored Pinot Noir that you've ever tasted? And what do you think about scores in general as a moving target? I'd love to hear. Drop it in the comments below. Yeah.